you don't get cancer. The people who don't have the melanin in the skin are likely to, if they are in the sun at a certain time and a certain place, that is location, it is likely that they can get a problem with the skin. So you ask the question, what is it? Aside from the pigment, what is it? Well, one thing we can say that melanin is a superconductor, or it is a conductor of electrical current. So what is the electrical current? It is the current sent in by the sunlight. The sunlight is your friend. Bleach your hair, you are preventing the body from taking in the electromagnetism that is supposed to come through the hair, which is like a straw that you take your juice with, and it goes into the body, energizes the body, and also creates more dark centers, in addition to the foods that you eat with pigments. And then it's going to make the current in your nervous system. Now I teach embryology as well, the origin or the development of the egg and the sperm and all the stages. And I have a slide to show you that the earliest cells are melanated cells. Therefore, melanated cells populate every other organ and tissue in the body. It's carrying the chemistry of melanin. Caucasian people have pheomelanin, I have a slide on that, which is a type of melanin. It's a melanoid. OID ending at the end of a word means it's a form of whatever the prefix is. So melanoid or caucasoid is a type of Caucasian. That's how they classify it. So, so we ask the question, we try to direct the students so they can get an interest to know what it is they're carrying, so they won't bleach it out, won't bleach the hair, and they won't buy those bleached out artificial wigs that look like, well, anyway. What is melanin? Okay, well, with that term, I've studied etymology. Etymology is the original meaning of words, as far back as you can get it. So names of people, no matter where they are, Europeans, etc., with the name M-E-L-A, it means you came from a black line. So that's Italian for that you came from a black line, and they know this. It's not taught in the schools.
Right.
If your name is Schwartz, Schwartzman, Schwartz something, it means it's German that you came from through a black ancestry, directly from a black ancestry. So we want to define M-E-L-A, melanin. Phil Valentine is very good at giving some good tidbits on this. He says black is a consciousness conductor. All right, so let me explain that one. You have 12 melanated centers in the brain. 3 of them dominate the brain. Now, I can name them for you. In the third ventricle of the brain, there is some neuromelanin, blood cells, and cells that help to generate the pigments in that area. Then there's one called the locus ceruleus, which is in between the cerebellum and the midbrain and the medulla. And then there are 10 others, not as much. Right? So melanin consciousness means that when the nerves were forming, the primordial cells populated along the dorsal area, meaning the back, the future skin. Cells broke away from that, and then the neural tube, which is the nervous, which is the spinal cord, formed. And then those cells that broke away during that process, they migrated into other areas of the body. Example, melanocytes come from those neural crest cells. Dr. King can tell you the same thing. Neural crest cells are the ones those cells that came off the formation of the spinal cord, and they left that area and migrated into all different parts of the body. Every nerve in your body, in the cell body of those nerves, there is neuromelanin. They call it Nissl substance because they don't want to say melanin. But we know Nissl substance in the cell body of every nerve is there. What is it there for? Well, you have trillions of nerves, say in the brain, the spinal cord, elsewhere. the energy coming from those nerves, that is the, we call it impulse or current, coming from one nerve to the next, is going to go right to the nissal substance, get re-energized, also going to go to the black area of the brain called the substantia nigra, and so on, to be re-energized. It's going to re-energize the nerves in the cell body where the melanin is, and activate it and make it stronger, and send it to all different parts of that brain, which is all neuronal tissue. Nerves in the brain are called nerve cells. Supporting cells are called glia cells, two types. It is the nerve cell that is sending the impulse from one to those black areas and to other nerves, re-energizing the current, making it stronger, and I call that consciousness. Now, I wish I had our book here, but I call it consciousness. As long as those impulses are going from one nerve to the other, to different parts of the brain, it makes you conscious depending on the part of the brain, which all the parts of the brain get it. Certain parts of the brain pick up sensitivity, certain parts in the front is for muscle, skeletal muscle, and intelligence, and so forth and so on, vision for the back, and so on. So that first one, consciousness, means that the nerves are re-energized from the black stuff. Now, when I read the thesis of people elsewhere, they're doing their master's and PhD, they say that black stuff is waste matter. So you're not going to tell me that I'm walking around in the skin. 9/10 of the world's population are people of color.
Exactly.
Less than 1/10 of the world's population are people with no color, meaning the chemistry, and it's not in the skin. It's maybe deeper in the nerves, but it's a different chemistry, even so. So consciousness then has to do with the movement of all of those impulses, electrical impulses, through the black stuff, which we call neuromelanin because it's in the brain, the spinal cord, to all other nerves, and it keeps doing that over and over, and we call that consciousness. When you lose consciousness, it means that some of the centers in the body, such as when people have Parkinson's, there's a black center called the substantia nigra. That means there's a substantial amount of black stuff in that area. When we do, I have a slide of that, when we do montage of the brain, the deeper we go, the more we see the black stuff. Even in the Caucasians, we don't usually have black bodies on the table, cadavers. Usually the families claim them, so they don't put them to be butchered. I don't know about Howard, but certainly, So the second one, black is unbeginning and the never ending, which means that we are the first people of color, black folks, are the first one. We are the seed of the earth.
Yes, we are.
We have no beginning and we have no end. They can kill as many of us as they want, but they could never destroy us. It's like a worm we use in biology called a planaria. If you take a scalpel and you cut the planaria in, say, 6 different parts, each little piece will develop a new planaria. That's us. They can throw us in the middle passage in the ocean and so forth, but it never has destroyed us. We keep regenerating like the planaria, and we keep bringing forth new creativity, new energy, new originality, and so forth. That is the nature of the black person. Now you ask that, what about mixed people? Well, it depends on, in that case, where you were raised and by whom. By whom? Because you can lose your connection with your ancestral connection socially and so forth. Like in the case of Obama, he had one parent that's one way and one parent the other. And he was raised in the company of people who didn't have a history of them and a knowledge to teach Obama. But he's learning. He's learning. That's the good part. And the mother-in-law, sure, she's from the South. So everywhere and nowhere. Melanin is all throughout the body. The liver. You have dreams. When you dream, it is the liver that's the major organ that's sending that message between the brain and that liver. That's the site of dreams. It is also the site of melanin too, because you look at that liver, it is dark. They take those cells out in some animals and they make it into an injectable, and they use that to treat certain aplastic anemias, which is a blood dyscrasia. So it is everywhere and nowhere. The unknowable one, the unknown probable, and the known variable on the earth, interpenetrating all dimensions in hyperspace. It's in the stratosphere, in the hydrosphere, it's in the atmosphere, it is in the underground, and so forth, all over. Even bacteria. There is a mold that grows on bread. You've seen it.
Yes.
It is a rhizopus mold, we call it. And the name is Rhizopus niger, which means black. It grows up on the bread when it's old, has a little head, and that head has spores in it. When the spores become ripe, the mold looks black. The little heads look black. Then after a while, it has matured enough, the little heads burst open, the spores fall back down on the bread, and more molds like that start to grow up. So you put bread in the refrigerator, you'll see lots of molds if the bread's been there a long time. Some are green, and many of them are black.
Yes.
And that one is rhizopus, and the other one is probably penicillium mold. Right? So, and then the next slide is a continuation. The black and the particulate residue is light. Right? And sometimes when you can't understand something somebody's saying, and you do this, oh, I see. That's what we're talking about. We're saying that when melanin, when those impulses in the brain go from one nerve to the other, get re-energized in the black area and just send its stronger impulse to all parts of the body continuously, we call that consciousness. But we also know that the movement of particles in physics gives off light. Let me tell you something else. The male sperms, if you collect the male sperms and go in a dark room, put it in a container, small container, and in a dark room, you'll see there's a slight glow of those sperm cells. Why? Because those are the earliest primordial cells with the melanin that's going to populate the reproductive area. The male's scrotum is the darkest part of the male, skin-wise. Why? Because the energy, vibration comes to that area and react with the melanin, gives an energy or a current from that into the the sperm-producing portions of the scrotum, that is of the seminiferous tubules, and then it creates more sperm cells. Now, there was a study at the University of Florida in Gainesville. I think it's still going on. And they paid the students, they have white population, they have a black population. And they have found that over the years, this is a 10-year study so far, they have found that the sperm count is decreasing in the Caucasians, it's going down. So the origin is plotted, and then each time they plot it, they see that the numbers are less. In the black people, they plot it there and the numbers are going up, which means the sperm count is continuously rising because of the melanin from the skin, that is the vibration from the skin, going into the cells of the scrotal sac to make new sperm cells so that you can populate and produce children just by sitting on the couch. But anyway, the minister mentioned about Putin in Russia. One reason why they need to try to do something is because the birth rate statistics, as I said earlier, are going down in the Europeans. And why is it going down? Because there are a lot of them that are gay.
Yeah.
And you don't have children if you are gay. So that decreases the birth rate. Now we have, we produce many children, sometimes more than they can, because girls have told me they lose it. So we don't have a problem producing a population of people, young people or babies. They do. Sometimes they even lose the baby. They tell me this. When they get pregnant, a certain amount of the time of the pregnancy, a spontaneous abortion occurs. So they are losing by different ways. So they got to do something, bringing those boys over there to get melanin, so that those girls can get impregnated and it can come to term. That's one reason why they want them there, because you're not going to go over there and fold your arms and just sing or rap. They want you to take the girls on.
Wow.
Now, excuse me, there is a part in Louisiana, as I speak, some country part where the father brings the boys at a certain age to the town and let them loose. And then when they let them loose in the population, before the day is over, that boy has gotten a black girl and have had sex with her.
Mm-hmm.
That is that middle passage for him. And that still goes on in Louisiana. Maybe she gets pregnant or maybe she doesn't. But that's, now they feel that they are a male. Whites have told me this, that the white male doesn't feel like he's a real man unless he has sex with a black woman.
Wow.
I've been told that more and more, many times.
Mm.
All right, so for light to manifest as material life, it must be re-invaginated. The black with the seed of the divine intention. Intention folds time and space into 666 matter. That's supposed to be the number of the Vicar of Christ, which is the Pope. 666 black matter, crystalline lattices of organic consciousness we call melanin. Melanin is the particle-based relay matrix that provides the superconductive environment for the, something written over this. No melanin, whether of natural occurrence or formed in the laboratory, has yet been isolated as a single chemical compound or definite composition. That means that you cannot go into the lab, take some of these children that they kidnap, take them in the lab. You can't just pull out melanin and test to see how it is configured in the skin or wherever you're taking it from, because they don't know what it is. They have a formula there of a lot of ring structures, but and many of those rings are like vitamin A. Vitamin A could be melanin based on their structure. And some of the other vitamins, they have ring structures. Chlorophyll is melanin.
Right.
There's no green, there's no blue in nature. It's all melanin. Many of the herbs are melanated in their makeup. If you take comfrey and put it in a jar, place it someplace on the shelf and leave it for a long time, it will turn black like coal with the lid tight on it. That means, and it's a healing one. Comfrey is supposed to regenerate soft tissue, cartilage, and bone.
Yes.
People have lost the joint on the finger. They make a paste, and later I can tell what the paste is. Make a paste containing comfrey herb, it's a powder, comfrey herb, and put that over that joint that you've lost, and tape it up, and then leave it there, and then change it every so often, and before you know it, that joint grows back. Melanin will regrow bone.
Yes.
It's a topical thing I'm talking. And regrow cartilage and soft tissue. So, melanin is not a polymer. That's what we're told in the research world. Every journal you open, you'll see that melanin is a polymer, meaning it is a long chain of chemistry. Melanin is a particle, like sound waves are particles. Light is a particle, built upon oligomers of unknown molecular weight that has a capacity to vacillate between dimensional point of reference. Oligomers are the fundamental stones of the particles. All right, next slide.
Did I get it?
No, it didn't change. Okay. Now, melanin seen early, I mentioned primordial cells. When sperm meets egg, sperm head goes in, taking the DNA, The mitochondria concentrates in the neck of the sperm because it's like a tadpole. You know what a tadpole, it has a head and a tail. So that reminds you of that. So the head of the sperm cell, which it has developed into a sperm cell from a regular cell, the mitochondria concentrates in the neck, and the DNA in the nucleus and the cytoplasm is in the head. And the formation of the melanin in that sperm cell starts around the nucleus. There's a black dot, and it grows around the nucleus, encases it around the nucleus, and that's the part that's going to go into the egg. There's a part that's going to get rid of the cells of the egg so the sperm cells can enter. So the DNA and the melanated portion of that nucleus is the one that's going to bind to the female's nucleus of the egg, and now you have a new life called a zygote, and it develops therefrom. This is the primordial part, is this right here. These cells are black, and these are the ancient cells that migrate to that area, waiting for the development, because this is the fetus here, and this is the yolk sac. This will be the future back, and then these structures here will fill up eventually. But this is the spinal cord, the brain is developing, spinal cord, this is the heart is developing here. So here are the cells. You don't have reproductive organs yet. You have these primordial cells, they're called germ cells, primordial germ cells, that are going to go inside, this is the opening of it, inside into the reproductive areas. So the reproductive areas get melanated cells early on. That's what gives it the power, so that you can produce sperm cells, or the female can produce egg cells through a process. So melanated cells are seen very early in embryogenesis, and they're going to populate those areas where it's going to be a organizing molecule to make sure that the reproductive parts develop and the new life comes from that. Right? So the next slide, this is, I put this in, I guess it fits, but I put this in because these nerve cells are not purple. It's purple there for visual contact. But these are pyramidal cells. There's a nucleus of that cell, nucleolus, and then there's a nucleus and light, and then this is the cell body. The nissal substance are found in this part of the cell body. This is the axon that's going to go to a distant part. These are normal cells. People that have Alzheimer's disease, they have waste in this area here. This is not normal. They call it amyloid plaques. And then I have another slide. Let's see if that's the next one. Yeah. When you have a problem with certain brain disorders such as Alzheimer's disease or even Parkinson's, the nerve axon that's supposed to, this is normal, this one here is abnormal. So the axon that's going to send the current down from the nerve cell to where it's going to go is twisted, so it can't conduct. You twist the cord, or if you twist abnormally your iron cord or some of these wires here, it's not going to conduct the current properly. And so you will have a distortion. You'll have this protein called neurofibrillary tangles in those structures here, and then you'll have the amyloid plaques, which concentrate here, and so that obstructs the nerve, so the nerve can't function the way it should. And people, a certain part of the brain where this occurs, the person forgets, because it destroys short-term memory. So they leave the house and they try to go to a store or whatever, and they can't find the way home. Long-term memory is not affected as quickly as short-term memory. All right, next slide. All right, you can go on to the next one. Go to the next one. Okay, there's a part of the brain, the term jumped out of this location. There's a part of the brain that if you section the brain like a montage, slice after slice after slice, the deeper you go, the more of the black stuff you'll find. So this is a section through what we call the midbrain. This is one level, this is another level of the same midbrain. This is the part where the cerebrospinal fluid flows through so it can, lubricate the entire system. So this, I ask the students, what does this remind you of? And what I want them to say is a pair of shorts. So here are the legs of the shorts, and this is the part you put on, etc. I say that so that they can remember that this is the midbrain section. So right here, I asked them, what is this? Well, there's some lace on the shorts, some decorations on the shorts. So this decoration on the shorts, that part is called the substantia nigra. And when we do cadavers and we open the brain and do those slices, we see the black stuff, even in Caucasian people. Everybody needs it for energy production of the nerves to send impulse from one nerve to the next to achieve consciousness. All right, so if this black area is bleached out, and how is it bleached out? It's bleached out through eating improperly, poisons collect. Remember, all diseases start below the waistline. All diseases. Meaning that when you eat something, it goes to the stomach and the small intestines and all of that, and gets in the bloodstream as it's broken down into its smaller molecules, gets in the bloodstream, travels all throughout the body. So if you're taking a drug over the years and other kind, not eating foods with pigment that is natural from nature, it gets in the bloodstream, those molecules. One of the places it's going to collect in those areas that make a difference in consciousness, for example, or the joints. So when this area in elderly people who are taking drugs, and the drugs will create some adverse reactions, and one of them is this. One of them is Parkinson's. Parkinson is the world's #2 insidious neurodegenerative disease. #1 is Alzheimer's. #2 is Parkinson's. They give more prescriptions to deal with Parkinson. Even drugs, street drugs, can bring on Parkinson's-like symptoms.
Wow.
And you get off the street drug, then the symptoms go down. So a person 25, 30 years old can have tremors because that part of the brain controls skeletal muscle movement, voluntary muscle movement is out of balance. Why? Because the neuromelanin that should be concentrated in the substantia nigra is either bleached out, the nerves are damaged, or the neuromelanin, the nerve itself is damaged. So the bleached out area, the nerve is damaged, and it's not making enough of what we call dopamine to maintain a balance. I think the Pope that passed, he had a bad case, and then he also flexed over to one shoulder. He had arthritis and all of that. This Pope, I'm not sure what he has, but
Yes.
He has to get out of town before Sunday.
You don't have no melanin.
well, that part, my point here with this slide is that that's the part called the midbrain. That's the part that has the darkest concentration of melanin. We call it the substantia nigra, a substantial amount of black stuff. If the black stuff is bleached out through drugs and whatever, then you're going to have a defect in the nerves that go there to get the black stuff and the dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that the nerve needs to work. And so now the skeletal muscle, which this part controls, is now going to be out of balance. And so you're going to have an exaggeration of one function, and you call that Parkinson's or tremors. Tarkai is a dyskinesia. So it's a tremor. So that's the part that's very important. And how do you keep this black stuff there? How do you maintain it? By eating foods with pigments, uncooked. 80% of what you eat. And I know people are stuck in the slave foods and so forth. But 80% of what you take in should be raw.
Yes.
Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. 20% could be cooked until you're convinced that you want to live. In other words, there are no incurables to a point. If you cleanse the system by, there are different ways, I'm not here to tell you how, but we know what they are. You cleanse the system, get rid of the cooked foods, all the starches. As Dr. Sebi says, starches, and he calls it carbohydrates, and flesh.
Blood.
Right.
Those are the killers for us. We're very strong people, that melanin keeps us, and we already know that that's giving us, you know, the creativity and the ability to see deep. You know, you say, he did that, honey, because you see deep.
Yes.
You can tell. A study was done on, there's a paper, and I have it, it was done in the 70s. They looked at black females from Uganda or Africa, black females from this country, and Asians from wherever, and Caucasian people. And what they found out is that the black people in general, in the study, pineal gland calcified. There were less than 10% of those that they studied. The pineal gland, which has a relationship too to pigmentation, was calcified. That means you can't see deep. You substituted materialism for spirituality. We should have African spirituality, not religion.
Thank you.
Right. Go ahead, sister.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody's thing.
That explains everything.
As long as you are saturated into, Reverend, please, as long as you are stuck into religion,
Go ahead, sister.
Christianity is a Caucasian model. You can do it if you want to, but I'm just saying to you, it's a Christian, so you will never be free until you get back into your African spirituality. African spirituality lets you know what to do when you have problems.
Yes.
It's that spirit that puts in you to eat this and eat that and not eat that. That's the spirituality.
Yes.
90%, 70 to 90% of your physical ailments are first mental and emotional. Mental means you've lost the African connection because you're hooked up in hallelujah. Once you get back into that which you were endowed with in Africa before they captured us and brought us here, I met a young lady at a workshop I was at Columbia a couple of weeks ago. She's from Nigeria. She wants to go back. She's getting a doctorate. She wants to go back to her country and try to help the people to develop this African mindedness. African spirituality. She's aware that religion is not going to help you.
No.
It's only enslaves you. Enslaves you. You get back into your African connection, then you can get answers, because we are spiritual people with all this melanin, and we're dying with guns and knives and all like that. We are people that need to be in touch with the relationship issues. You stab a person, you step on a person's sneakers, they pay $250 for it, and you don't say, I'm sorry. That person will take a gun or take a knife out and stab you and go to Rikers Island. Why? Because you destroyed the highest value in black people, which is what? Which is the relationship. That's why we do libation. That's the relationship. And Caucasian people, it is the object. That's their axiology and epistemology. It's the object. So the baby is an object. Money is an object. I'll kill you for money. Sex is an object, and so forth. The Asian person, their highest value axiology and epistemology is in the consensus of the group. Look at their language. All those little squiggly things come together to give a whole meaning. Another little bunch of squiggly stuff, you know, the little symbols they use in their writing tells you that their highest value is in the consensus of the group.
Yes.
Consensus of the group. All right, so let's move on, and so we can get done with this. This is an area in the brain. This is a cross section, a sagittal section of the brain, cutting it down this way. And then this part here is the cerebellum that has to do with your balance and equilibrium. This is the bird. This bird here is the earliest part of the brain. We call it the brain stem. And then the cerebrum is up here someplace, but the black centers are located right at these areas here. This is the third ventricle here. That's the space. Here's another area that's going to be black, etc. We can't demonstrate it any better than this, but we can, just point it out to you to tell you that deep to the cerebrum is where you're going to find all the black stuff. Why do you need it there? Because you don't have access to the light because of the cranial covering, and also the brain is a large organ. So you need the black stuff deep to it to generate the current. That's the importance of it. You lose the black stuff, you're going to have deficit, especially in your motor functions, and in your thinking, and your emotions, etc. Next one. All right, so now we're back to the skin. Let me show you this. This cell here, follow my finger. This, and here's the cell body and the nucleus of the cell. Just this one here. This is called a melanocyte in the skin. There it is there, the outline of it. It's in color. All the rest of the cells are regular skin cells. We call them keratinocytes, but they produce a protein to waterproof the skin so it doesn't dry out. But that one cell there, called a melanocyte, migrated to the skin when the spinal cord was forming. I told you crest cells, neural crest cells, migrated to all of the nerves throughout the body. One place those crest cells migrated to is in the skin. All right, so what is the importance of it? Well, the melanosomes, these little vesicles here, are the ones that are going to make and develop and synthesize the melanin. But it's not going to be dark yet. It's going to get dark as it goes here. It's going to get a little darker the more it goes up this way. A little darker, sending the pigment into those cells, which when the sun activates that, it causes the skin to maintain its dark color. If you're in the sun a lot, it's going to be more made by those melanocytes. So you're going to get darker. If you use the darkening stuff we talked about earlier, that has SPF, they have it up to 20 now. Put that on the skin, go out in the sun. You're going to draw the melanin from other places, and eventually it's going to concentrate in the skin, give you skin cancer. Now they have those tanning salons all over the place. And white people don't feel, they feel, I don't know how they feel, but I don't think they feel like they are as good as us because they don't have the color. And they'll do it at any rate. They'll go at any rate to get color in the summer.
Yeah.
They get very depressed in the winter, SAD, in the winter, because they are paler. There's no sun. So they have to go to the salons to get the color to make themselves feel good. And they say they feel good once they see this color on their skin. It doesn't last but about a couple of weeks, and they have to go back. So the more you go back, and as low ionizing radiation hits you, it's going to cause the melanin from other parts of the body to concentrate in the skin, and you're getting darker at the same time, and then you're going to have vesicles that are going to be black, and which is the skin cancer thing. You can get the 3 types of skin cancer conditions, and I have the last slide. I'll save it until then. Go ahead. For the next one. Next one. Just keep going. Okay, now, quickly, melanin so far has been grouped into four groups. This slide is 2, and the other slide will have the other 2. Here's this word, eumelanin. What does eu mean? EU, Reverend Oliver. What does, huh?
Well.
That's correct.
Well.
Good, efficient. Now give me a word, you're the minister, now give me a word that we hear all the time in the church when you cross over. What do you perform? What is that service called? When you cross over?
What was the question?
I'm trying to get a word out of it.
Eulogy.
All right, so what is that ceremony called?
Sanctified, reborn.
Eulogy. EU means what now? Put it together. You're going to do what now? You're going to put all the good things about John Henry at the service. You're not going to say he had a girl in Brooklyn, and a girl in Queens, and a girl in Manhattan in one day. You're not going to say that. You're going to say he took care of his children, he was very kind, he was friendly to the neighbors. And so you're going to say all the good things about John Henry, right? And in the Catholic Church, they have something called Eucharist. Eucharist. All these terms you can go. Euphonium is an instrument. This is one that imitates the voice more than any other of the instruments. And you can look up, go to your dictionary and look up the EU words all throughout. You see a whole lot of EU words, and look what they mean. They're either going to mean good. When Dr. Kevorkian was getting rid of his cancer patients, he didn't just take a baseball bat and bust them on the head. No, he let them die good, well, by injecting them with something to kill them, rather than abusiveness. So melanin is our melanin. It's efficient. It takes in all the rays of the 7 rays of light in the visible spectrum and concentrates that through the melanin and then deep to the body to maintain function. To maintain function, the digestive enzymes, food will digest properly. If you're in the sun a certain amount of time, you go in the sun, you have the color in your iris, which is the beauty part of the eye. Look in the sun around 12 o'clock in the day. Look straight in that sun for about a minute or two. Close the eyes and then, bat the eyes for so many times, about 50 times, and then look again. We'll strengthen the eyes because it's activating the melanin and all of the other centers through the eyes. The eyes are the only way you can get anything into the brain is through the eyes. Everything else is light proof. Only the eyes will let you in. We call it EYES. EYES for eyes. Okay, the second type is called pheomelanin. Pheo means dusky or is a melanoid. It's a form of melanin, but it's not the true melanin that's brown to black. This one is a color of various sorts. It's a yellow, it is a red mixture and all of that, and a little bit of brown, but the eumelanin is brown to black, or to charcoal black. All right, the next one, the next slide has the other two. Allomelanin, black or brown, amorphous. That means it has no shape. Often nitrogen-free particles obtained by oxidation of certain polyphenols is found in fungi. I told you the bread mold grows and it creates a black type of mature mold which opens, the head opens, molds fall back down on the bread and you get more molds growing. So we call it molds that grow on wherever they grow, we call that melanin allomelanin. And then the last one is neuromelanin. We find in the eyes and we find in the brain itself. The substantia nigra I showed you, that is neuromelanin. And our book called, Dr. King, myself, and 2 other people have the book is Why Darkness Matters, the power of melanin in the brain. We didn't want to do the skin. We didn't want to get them excited. So the power of melanin in the brain. So this one has neuromelanin. The neurotransmitter chemistry is dopamine, tyrosine. All of these are part of a chemical pathway that's going to produce melanin down the road. Let me tell you about one disease that all of your children, you have a child, and all the 50 states, including Israel, all the 50 states, that if you, when that child is born, on about the day of discharge, you have to submit a blood sample on a filter paper, which the hospital provides, and they prick the heel of the newborn after they clean it with alcohol. They prick it and a little blood pops out, and they shake that away, and then they press it more, and then a bigger drop will come forth, and then you hold the filter paper to that blood, and it saturates the circle. I designed that thing when I worked for the Board of Health. But that circle is saturated and you send it to the lab. When you send it to the lab, they're going to do 7 metabolic disease tests, such as T3, T4, and so forth. But PKU is one of those tests they're going to do on that blood sample. Phenylketonuria. This means that the child's liver is not making the proper enzyme to break down the milk proteins. And so the certain abnormal metabolites accumulate in the bloodstream, and it goes to the brain as the blood goes to the brain and causes a mental retardation. That happens 1 out of every 20,000 newborns, and it's a Caucasian disease. We have ours, they have theirs too. So, so these are some of the chemistry of neuromelanin and how it's synthesized, the beginning molecule for synthesis. Go ahead. Neuromelanins in brain function. Melanin appears to be instrumental for various brain functions, for the ear to hear, for the eyes to see. This is important, the next sentence. No blue or green colors would be seen in animal or plant kingdom without melanin. That's a strong statement. Now, there's a scientist named Dr. Nicholas in Italy. I think he's passed away, but he spent about 60-odd years doing melanin. He never would go and give talks. Frank Barr, the same. I have a slide of his quotation. But they wouldn't go out in the public because they're Caucasian people. So they don't want to get, cause excitement and, If you don't believe it, remove the melanin from these organs and observe what happens. That's the reference. That's the reference for that particular researcher in Italy. Next slide. Oh, so it didn't take, go to the end of everything, scroll down. Because I have a slide of...
That one?
No, it's the last one that has bar graphs. It's the bar graphs. It should be on there. Because I saved the whole thing.
Let's get that.
On this side, these slides, not that.
Oh, okay.
This,
Right.
hit the arrow and scroll down. That's a missing. I have another file there. It may be in the other file of melanin.
Shall I try to find it?
Yeah, you can do, but I can tell
Okay.
whatever it is. This slide that we don't see on this particular file has to do with melanoma, malignant melanomas. As I said earlier, there are 3 types. I have a paper here if you want to see it later and read about it, but squamous cell carcinoma. The word carcinoma means it is a cancer of the surface cells called epithelial cells. Epithelial cells grow down and so on. Any cancer of those cells is called some name and carcinoma. If the term is sarcoma, it is a cancer of the connective tissue. Always connective tissue below the epithelial tissue. The next layer, which acts as a support, where blood vessels are found and so on, is called connective tissue. So any abnormality or tumor that occurs in the connective tissue is called a sarcoma. Right? So the slide shows by bar graphs. It's taken from the New York Times by the American Cancer Society's data that from 1973 to 1994, there is a constant increase in malignant melanomas, and it had Caucasian, it has blacks. Blacks have a steady, I guess they call certain conditions malignant melanomas for us, but they're really something else. They're really not the same. But the point is that in Caucasian males, which is the highest frequency, malignant melanomas, deaths and occurrences are increasing over a period of time. I checked from 1995 to the present, and the same thing is true. 35,000 people die from malignant melanomas every year, according to their statistics. So this condition is causing trouble. That's why Putin wants us over there, want the males over there to contribute some of the melanin. Those sperm cells are strong. They carry a lot of the pigment in their cell bodies, so that when it penetrates an egg and starts a new life, you're almost sure to develop, that baby would develop to term. So he wants that to occur. Now Africans go all over the world. There are plenty Africans. We had a guy in the lab when I was at the medical school. He was a Caucasian person, but he had extremely kinky hair coming out of Russia. So African peoples were all over the world. Dr. Ben will tell you the Twa, the Grimaldi people, and so on traveled over. They did paintings in caves in Austria, which are still there. They call them Hottentots in some cases, but they're Grimaldi people. They are Twa people. The Twa people came to this country, and they were instrumental in Mexico for the building of those pyramids there, which look exactly like the pyramids in Egypt.
Right.
That is an African culture. It is a black culture.
We call them the three wise men in the Holy Scripture.
Yeah, okay. So we traveled all over from the beginning. That's why we say we have no beginning, we have no end. We traveled and carried civilization wherever we went, created things. So they put the Mayans and the Hopi tribes, they say that they built those pyramids down in Mexico. But there's evidence that those were Twa people. There are mounds throughout this country. Someone has given a talk on all the mounds along the Mississippi River, which are pyramids all over. In Sudan, there are two Sudans now. South Sudan, and then there's a regular Sudan, which they broke away last year. There are mounds there. There are pyramids there. Nobody can imitate those pyramids. Those were built by Twa people, and they say people came from outer space and built them. I'm not convinced of that. I am not convinced of that. So we know that civilization was carried all throughout the universe by our people from Africa. Get in tune with your African spirituality, and you will see that it will bring you blessings. It will bring you healing.
Yeah.
You have to eat foods that are raw as much as you can. First, cleanse and eat raw foods as much as possible. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and plenty of water, at least 64 ounces a day. And then you got to think positive. Read books having to do with thinking, mental and emotional.
Yeah.
Read books. You know? Your spiritually rooted diseases are like fear, anxiety, hatred, jealousy, worry, doubt, and all of that. You can't cut it out in the lab of a person. That's why we call them spiritually rooted diseases. They cause 70 to 90% of your physical ailments. Physical ailments are first the thinking, mental and emotional, hatred, jealousy, and all of these, and then the physical follows.
Yes.
Not the other way around.
Right.
In medicine, we teach you physical only.
Right.
But in my class, I teach them in the connections. That first there's a mental component, and then you keep thinking that way, and eventually you will have a physical ailment. So that's the information that I have. I'm sorry, that other
There's one question I need to ask you. Can you take a question?
yes, he said I can take questions.
I've been studying people as having, we have a lot of strokes, and I'm a sewer gas specialist. So when you say fungal, you always open up a big part of my brain.
Exactly.
Because I've been studying for 35 years the sewer gas problem in our neighborhoods, and this fungi melanin is something that we notice as.
What is which one?
It's a form of fungus that comes out of the sewer line and is germinated a new germ.
It's probably many types. It's
Yeah,
not
yes.
no one fungus
Well,
growing nowhere.
Well, us scientists now have to all go back to school because it's a new germination in the sewer line, and it's because they should have replaced it 40 years ago, and they didn't. So anyway, what I'm saying is this. What I'm asking is this. Is that we believe that there's a connection between people going into having a stroke, massive retardation, and Alzheimer's disease, and the sewer gas also causes the nervous system of the brain to deteriorate like lead poison.
Let her
Can you
answer the
tie
question.
that?
All right, let me, yeah, okay, I got your point now. When you work under those environmental hazardous conditions,
Right.
it is likely that you'll come out with anything. You work in a coal mine, you get what they call silicosis, and which is a lung problem. So you work in the sewage area, yes. The average person out there has fungi growing in the bloodstream. If I take a blood sample at random, put it under a certain kind of scope so you can see the live cells, you'll see the movement, and we know the fungi when we see it as opposed to the blood cells. So the average person will have fungi growing in the bloodstream. Bacteria is the first stage, fungi comes from that, and that will also take you out. When the fungus goes into the organs and penetrate there, gets there through the bloodstream and the lymphatic system. Once it gets into the liver and penetrates deep into the liver, it's very difficult to get rid of it. And so it will go, so we call that term that you just described pleomorphism. Pleomorphism means one bacteria type can change into another type depending on the environment that it has to live in. The fluid medium, the tissue fluid, etc. It's going to cause it to change into something another kind. Now the bacteriology uses Bergey's manual, and they say you have this bacteria which has no relationship to this bacteria, and so on. That is not correct. The theme of microbiology, and I have a master's in micro as one of my degrees, is pleomorphism. Changes due to the conditions. So when you have STD, it is not a single bacteria that came there through sex. It is one form of bacteria due to the conditions in that area that changes into another kind of bacteria. Pleomorphism.
All right, I'm making a movie called Best I Do About It.
One question.
Okay, let somebody else.
I catch you, man.
Actually, I had three quick questions. The first question is, in old white folks, what actually is old age spots or liver spots or whatever?
They call them lipofuscin deposits. Lipofuscin deposits. Those are some of the melanin coming out of centers. And in them, their chemistry is different, so it's going to concentrate on the skin as liver spots. Or brown spots throughout the skin. It's some of the melanin coming deep. Now, if you don't believe that, watch them. Many of them have neurological conditions. That means that the melanin is leaving where it should be to give you balance in function and coming to other areas. And in this case, the skin. Yeah, it's lipofuscin plaques.
Yeah, next one real quick is the genesis of the egg cells in females. Is that also a migration from the melanin cells?
Yeah, those
from
primordial cells.
From the spinal column?
Well, those are the neural crest cells I mentioned.
Yeah.
They migrate and go throughout the body. One place they go to, and they're called primordial cells. They're waiting to populate the ovaries in the case of the female, and the testicles in the case of the male.
And
They're carrying the pigment chemistry.
And on the female's eggs, is that a specific number of eggs that every female carries, or will they continue to produce?
No, they're not eggs. They are regular cells.
Well, regular cells that turn into the egg.
called germinal cells. They occupy the peripheral inside of the ovary. There's regular cells, membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm. So there's a whole of certain centimeters thick of germinal cells. The germinal cells that populate the periphery, we call the cortex of the ovary, they're going to change with time and produce and go through a oogenesis process, making cells, maybe about 14 per month, and you have enough for 5 or 6 lifetimes, and only one will come to maturity. The other will regress, and the body recycles them, but only one comes to full maturity to be fertilized.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? My name is Fernando. I have a two-part question. The first question is, what are the human characteristics of a blood type? And the second part of the question, in regards to the food diet based on the blood type, is it good or not good?
Yeah, that guy, I know, the book you wrote that tells that this blood type is bad, therefore, is a type, and therefore you should not eat certain foods
Right.
if you have type A blood and so on. Type A and type B has to do with the membrane of the red blood cells having certain antigens on the surface. If it has antigen A, we call that person a type A. Antigen B, we call that person type B blood. It's talking about the protein that dominates the membrane of the red blood cells. If they have both, we call them AB. If they have none, we call them O.
So how the negative and the positive comes into play now? Like they say,
Well, no, that's another part. That's another test. That's the RH factor.
Yeah.
RH factor, they took the rhesus monkey and they did an analysis on their cells, and that if the test gives a positive reaction, then you are RH positive in addition to your blood type. If that gives a no reaction, then you are RH negative. Now they need to redo that blood typing thing because Landsteiner did that test back in the 20s. And I don't have the money and all. If I had the money, etc., I would do black folks and do their blood typing because I don't think it's correct. I don't think it's correct. I think the data has to do with the Caucasian and who they tested. Chokun Diop over in Senegal did the melanin dose test on the ancient what do you call them, gods and so forth. And he also did the blood typing. He said Europeans have type A blood, and African peoples have type B blood. He didn't do the RH factor because there was no test at the time he said this, whether it's rhesus RH positive or negative, or D antigen. D antigen, same as RH. So I don't know how to answer whether, I think it's a bunch of coolie-coo, but because he's saying if you have this, and the things that we need to eat is on the list. If you have type A, they tell you don't eat, I'm just giving a rough example, you don't eat cashew nuts, don't eat spinach, don't eat this, and don't eat the other. And you're pushing aside those foods that are going to make you healthy. You have to eat anything nature puts out there for you in the right proportion and have the right thinking behind it.
Yes. The intention.
You said that melanin is found in all the
Could you speak
hemispheres.
louder?
Not really. The hydrosphere, atmosphere.
All over the universe.
Right. I was going to ask you. I once read that in order for space vehicles to be in space, they have to be coated with melanin. Is that true? Have you heard that?
I heard that, but I'm not sure how to interpret that. All the melanin they're studying, remember this, is synthetic melanin. They don't know this. Now, I have a good friend, he's an entomologist, and he says that our melanin is sulfur and hydrogens. Hydrogen sulfide is what you smell when the person spoops, you know?
That's right.
But he's saying that our melanin is basically the sulfur and the hydrogen combined. That gives us the black color. That's what he says. You know, sulfur does give a black color because your tires on the rubber of your tires is one form of sulfur, and it's black. The sulfur, the yolk of the egg is a yellow, is sulfur there, and some other things like lecithin and cholesterol and so on. So that yolk of the egg is yellow. That is also so sulfur has what we call an amphoteric properties. It's one color under one condition, and it is another color. You heard of the Vulcan rubber. You know, they're talking about the sulfur concentration. Fire and brimstone in the Bible. That's sulfur. It makes the hottest heat.
So is that why it would be green or blue? Because it's one way in one situation, not just black.
No, I was just saying that.
This is a question.
Yeah, I get her what she's saying.
Can you repeat the question then? So
She's trying to come to the point as to whether some of the things, the colors that are blue and green, have to do with melanin. Is that what you're
Because
after?
you just said that that melanin is one color in one situation, And I'm asking you, is that why it would be blue or green as opposed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
black?
it's all melanin. That quotation says that. Yeah, it's all melanin. You remove it and you see what happens. You will get nothing there.
Okay.
It's blood cells, red blood cells, that's melanin. The molecule, we know how to write the molecule. The molecule has at its core a metal, and the metal for chlorophyll is magnesium. The same molecule for hemoglobin has a different metal in the core. Same, you write the same structure, but in the core, in the hemoglobin, it's iron. So it's red. Colors vibrate at a frequency, according to the laws of physics. And the frequency at which it vibrates gives you the color perception through your eye. Right? Now, in the skin, you'll see blue in the blood vessels. Look blue if your skin is light. That is not the blood. That is the collagen that keeps it smooth. The light hits it, and the collagen is a triple helix. The light hits it and reflects off a blue color. That's why you see blue in the skin near the blood vessels, because of the collagen, which is a tough fiber that keeps smoothness, gives smoothness to the skin. The toughest stuff in the body is collagen. All right? Collagen breaks down, wrinkles come.
Stand, please.
Yes, thank you, Amber, for your informative discourse.
Yes.
I would like to ask you, first of all, how does water affect melanin, and is there a specific type of water that we should drink?
I know the Koreans developed this alkaline water, fad. And it brings confusion, but I do know that the water you buy in these bottles from these for $1 and all this, if you put a certain electrode in that water that you poured into a beaker and set it on the table and leave it there until my lecture is over, you'll see that it has turned brown, which means that it has small molecules that will coagulate and gives this precipitation, and it's really a suspension because it's floating and it's brown. So that water is not clean water. They're making tons of money.
Yeah.
Another kind of water, so that's the bottled water. Another kind of water is filtered water. The Koreans have, throughout Jersey, they have these places, one place called Water Depot, and they have them all over. And they have big filters there, you can see it through the glass, that the water regular water goes through. The filters remove all of the debris from the water, and you get a H2O, purified water. The third type is an alkaline water, where they use the chemistry, I'm trying to remember, xanthine? No, not xanthine. I can't think of the chemistry, that splits the water molecule. It's a mechanical split, splits the water molecule, and it creates an alkalinity, because there's something in the filters that create an alkaline. You can create the alkalinity based on where you want to set it. You can set it at 7.0, you can set it at 8 point whatever, you can set it as far up as 9. That's very alkaline. My feeling is that if you, over the years, drinking lots and lots on a repetitive basis of alkaline water, I don't think the kidneys or the liver appreciate that. I think you can destroy the nephrons that filter. There are about 1.2 million nephrons per kidney, and they are there to filter the blood. You're putting alkaline water in there. My feeling, my opinion, is that you can deactivate the function of some of those 1.2 million nephrons, then they will drop out, meaning they're not functioning anymore, and so now you have to go to dialysis. I think that highly alkaline water over a period of time is not going to be beneficial. I think,
No, you're exactly right.
and I
know
think,
someone that died that way.
I think that the purified water may be your best bet.
What about distilled?
Distill also is your best
Yeah, I was
bet,
gonna ask
but you
that
can't really trust the distill because they put those in a container and sell it to you in a plastic container. So if you can get distilled water from a place that makes distilled water, like you can get the purified water, that's a form of distilled water, you're better off drinking that. Now, for some people where the kidneys aren't functioning too well, they say the water goes straight through them. You have to go to the bathroom pretty often. Some people swear by the alkaline water, because those tanks that produce the alkaline one, they also have a tubing that's going to pick up the acid part. You catch the acid part through one tube coming off the tank, and another tube coming out the top of the tank with a gooseneck tubing. That's the one carrying the alkalinity of the water you want to catch. You take the acid water and you put it on your plants, you can almost see the plants grow. Or you can put it on a sore on your hand, you can see the sore gets well in 2 days. Or you can wash your face or your hair with it, and it's a topical. Or put it on your plants, which is the best place to put it, because you're going to go down the sink otherwise. So there are 3 things there. So, you know, I don't think alkaline water should be consumed with any frequency. I don't think so. That's my own opinion. I know I have access to it. I can drink it all throughout the day if I like, but I mix it. I mix it with purified water, and half a glass of the purified, and I pour the alkaline water, and to decrease the pH.
What about the natural, like they say, Alpesian water that comes out of the...
Yeah, that's the same thing. Same thing.
You're saying you don't think that one?
Yeah, that's another fad. You see, the Europeans' body works different than ours. The Koreans also work like the Europeans. The hypertension in us is different than the hypertension in Caucasian people. When I do the urinary system and do the kidney and do that whole thing about the renin and stuff, angiotensin, I show them, I tell them, and it's written up in books, that their hypertension is at the level of the kidney. Our hypertension is at the level of the heart. All the salts and other debris we take in through foods, when the blood gets to the heart, causes the heart to beat faster. So our hypertension is a tachycardia hypertension. That means 100 beats per minute or greater. That's a tachycardia hypertension. Their hypertension is a renin hypertension. Renin is a hormone at the level of the kidney that causes constriction of the blood vessel, and the blood goes into the filtering units called the nephrons in the kidney. The arterioles, those blood vessels with that renin, is going to close down how much blood goes in. Those blood vessels are the regulators of pressure going into the organs. You have to regulate how the blood flow goes into organs for them to be healthy. So the renin is going to cause the constriction of those blood vessels in the Caucasian type, because it's high, the renin is high, so it's going to be a hypertensive condition. So their hypertension is different than ours. Now don't ask me about mixed people, I can't answer everything.
Black people reduce the hypertension?
Oh, just stop eating so much salt. Right. Cleanse the system, cleanse the system. If I were teaching you the digestive system and had the colon on a slide here, I can show you that in those pockets that make the colon up structurally, the wall of the colon, the cells in that wall, some of them are mucus-producing cells. That's natural. And so whatever the gunka is going through, if it's a lot of mucus secreted, stimulated to be secreted in the fecal matter, it's going to glue the fecal matter to the walls of the colon in those pockets. Every organ in your body has reflexly has an outlet to the colon. Every organ in the body. The eyes have a entry into the colon. Every part of the body. It's the last stop, like the number 4 train. So uptown. But anyway, so the fecal matter glues with the mucus there, because it's not passing through at a transient at a faster rate. So it's going to glue the feces to the wall of the colon. Say it's at the part of the colon that reflexly that the eyes have a reflex connection to, the ears. It's going to be over on this side, so you're going to get the glue over on this side, blocking that entry into that part, and so the eyes are going to become weak. The ears, you're going to lose the hearing. Most of the conditions, the people who can barely walk, guess what? Feces in the colon. Retention of feces. There are about 20 names. Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, ileitis, hemorrhoids. All these have to do with fecal retention in the colon. Why is there retention? A lot of reasons. One is wrong foods you're eating.
Right.
Another one, lack of exercise. Another one is don't chew the food well, so the transient time, the food stays there longer than it should. Drawing out the poisons, putting it back in the bloodstream, and so on, making the feces hard like a rock on the wall. And it's going to block some of the organs that whatever drains into that part of the colon. Respiratory problems are across here, the transverse colon. People that have constant respiratory problems, go get a colonic to clean off the gook on the wall there, and it will function much better. People, you know why we have retention in the colon? Another reason, I mean, one of the after effects of retention in the colon. Knee problems, hip replacements, knee replacements. You don't hardly get shoulder replacements, but knee and hip. The knees bear the weight of the torso straight down, so the knees are going to go first. The hips are just for movements laterally and so on and so forth. That goes a little less, although you can have the hip replaced because the cartilage is worn down. Why is the cartilage worn down? Because you're eating foods whose metabolic end product is acid. It's going to eat away the cartilaginous pad that between two bones, which is what you need for flexibility. So fecal retention, and why do you have fecal retention? Another reason is because somewhere, long time ago, the queen had a plumber and a cabinet maker to make a toilet with a tank so she can sit nicely on the stool. And so the whole world took on what the queen had for luxury, and now we're stuck with fecal retention. Fecal retention then, the best way, the normal way for your feces to be expelled or excreted from the body is by squatting. The natural and normal way to have a baby is you squat. I can't, I mean, I don't have knee problems, but I'm stiff. I can't squat, you know, the proper way. You gotta squat so that your buttocks is on your heels and your knees are up here and up here. Right. This is the ascending colon, the first part of it. This is the descending colon. So your knees have to be pressing here, and then the rectum comes straight down. There's no kink in it. When you sit on the toilet, the rectum kinks over, and the retention, some of the feces is still there. If you squat, feces, there's no kink in the rectum, the feces come straight down and out. Baby comes straight down and out. Yes. That's the only natural way to have a baby is by squatting. The only natural way to have fecal excretion is by squatting. When we grew up down in Montgomery, we had a toilet, tank up there, pull the chain and flush. But we went outside because there were no houses near our house. So we went in the weeds and we squatted, and everything come bulky, you know. Go to certain parts in Africa and China, wherever in these hinterlands, the people squat. They don't have cancer of the colon. Most of your cancers are right here, where the knees ought to be when you squat, and over here. This is a cecum, the beginning of the colon, and this is the sigmoid, which is going to turn and go straight down. That's where most of your cancers are. And that's where all the fecal retention occurs, here and here. So you have a prolapse colon, because it's feces stuck up here and it's heavy, so it's going to fall down this way, etc. Many ways, you know, and there are about 20 terms, and it all means fecal retention. So if you have your knee replaced, you're going to replace the knee, and the feces are still hard in the colon, right? Jimmy Stewart and Elvis Presley and all these people who died, when they did an autopsy, they found like 20 pounds of feces in the colon. So I say, keep the colon clean. Is this pen right? Take the top off. What I say is, I tell my students, I say, I'm not talking about the bad people. What I'm saying to get your attention is to keep the colon clean. Fecal retention is going to be hip problems, knee problems, if you continue that way. All right, thank you.
Just 2 minutes, two more questions, and I got the last one, and you got the next one.
All right, Dr. Brown,
What is the energy that deals with the neuromelanin and genetic intelligence? What's the connection between those two?
Very good question, and it's a complex one. Neuromelanin and genetic, what's the second word you put?
Intelligence.
Intelligence, same thing. Intelligence means that the neuromelanin located in those centers that I told you, 12 centers in the brain, some have more than others, those centers, when the nerves synapse in those places, and they do, they get re-energized from the black stuff. Like you're re-energizing something, like you plug your cord into the wall, you're re-energizing whatever you're using. So they have to come to the black stuff, since it's deep to the brain, it doesn't get the light superficially, so it has to have some black stuff down there to re-energize the electrons or the impulses. And then it goes to where it has to go. Now that's the genetic intelligence, all the same thing. You need black stuff. So if you're taking drugs and so on, you're going to bleach out the black stuff, and maybe in that person. And remember, Parkinson, you're trembling. And remember, the metaphysical attachment to that Parkinson has to do with fear. There is fear in the four walls of this person that comes out this way. Fear. Fear. Fear is an energy. You can inherit fear through the mother's womb, through the the womb to the newborn. Developing fetus. Fear is when somebody walks in this snake walk, a bear walks in this door. What's going to happen? You're going to get afraid. You're going to start trembling. Or somebody approaches you in the street to try to snatch your purse or your wallet. You're going to start trembling. Or if you have an altercation with somebody, you're going to start trembling. That's fear. You're afraid of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen to you. Fear is the bottom line. That's what we call a spiritually rooted cause of many conditions. It's fear. There's good fear, there's bad fear. You won't leave your house and leave the door locked. So that's a constructive form. But most of the forms that are out there are destructive forms, and so it's going to affect your your inner well-being. So fear is an energy. Most of your problems, asthma, emphysema, have to do with fear, anxiety, and you can put stress there. Fear, anxiety. Those explosionary conditions where the blood vessels explode and burst open, that is based on fear and anxiety. Glaucoma, hemorrhoids, fear and anxiety carried deep in your psyche. Women that have breast tumors that develop into breast cancer, ovarian tumors that develop into ovarian cancer. It is unresolved issue with a mother or a sister. One needs to get in touch with them. If the person's not around, you don't want to approach them, burn a candle and say some affirmations. And eventually you'll decrease it and you'll be okay. But most of the people that have these breast tumors and breast cancer and so on, you see it in the literature all over the place. It is some unresolved issues. Fibroids, same thing. Unresolved issues, because the person's on the phone talking about that same person that made them angry, that guy, if she's a female. 20 years, he's on the phone talking about that thing and some more. 20 years. As you talk about it, it's the size of a lemon, grows the size of an orange, grapefruit, because you're feeding this energy. You need to let it go. Let go, resolve that. Let go. Release and let go, and your health will be yours.
Last question. Dr. Richard King earlier talked about Europeans, how they study us and he thought that jealousy, so I wanted to know, in terms of your research of them and your own feeling, what do you feel now, since they are feeling and studying and understanding that nature is taking them out and it has a less damaging effect on black folk? How do you summarize our condition and relationship? And
I can't go too deeply into Caucasian psychic, but I think that it is a very valid response they have, because they know what they have done, and it's generational. It hasn't stopped. You look at the Obama campaign, there's some deep racism, and and those people represents the whole Caucasian people. They can't help it. They can't help it. So they're carrying this ancestral hatred of us because we have some big advantages that they don't have. One is color, spirituality, and our hair. This coil hair is a different chemistry than straight hair. A straight hair and a coil hair can never lock. Can never lock. I used to wear the braids where I go to the beauty shop and buy this straight hair. And she was I was at the medical school, so I needed something where I don't have to go to the beauty shop. So I had to go and get this straight hair from the beauty shop, and she weaves that into my hair, you know, however they do it, and so on. And now I have braids, and it'll last for a while. I even had a wig at one point. What do you call it? The kind that you... what's that? Weave. Yeah, weave. I had the weave. I've gone through all of it. I had the afro when it was popular. At the medical school, I had the weave, and then I had the braids, and then something say, wake up. Wait a minute. How did your mother birth you? My mother birthed me with this kind of hair. This kind of hair and its strands will catch because it has a sulfur-containing amino acid called cysteine. Two cysteines can cross-link, and that's what throws it into a kink. So these are compatible. Straight hair doesn't have cysteine, so it's straight. It has a straight chain of amino acids. No cysteine there. Others are there. Ours is, every now and again, there's a cysteine which throws us into kink. Insulin has that same kind of thing. Insulin has a coil, it's a coil molecule. But the hair is what we're saying, that coil hair, I call it coil, I call it kink. That coil hair will catch with another coil next to it. You leave it, that's my phone I think. If you leave it without combing it and disturbing it, it will catch, and then you got locks. You don't call them dreads because you don't dread nobody. Europeans call them dreads because they dread you because you're supposed to be an activist and going off the deep end against them, so they call them dreadlocks. There's nothing to dread about my hair that the Creator made through my genetics, and I have on the outside of my head called hair. Right? So that answers your question?
Yes.
How do I see...
Yeah. How do you see this relationship? African Americans in particular here, but as Africans all over the world, Europeans, you know, to me they would do anything to destroy black folk.
Oh, you mean our characteristics?
No, destroy us. Well, I just want to know, how do you see this playing out?
I agree that they have gone and are going through any extent to get rid of us because of the qualities that we possess. They cannot get them. When I was an undergraduate, they used to say, "Oh, do you have a white friend?" You know? Yeah, because they see the white friend, and what the white friend wants from you. The reason why they take on to you is because they are looking at your spirituality. Yes. They would like to be sexy like us. Yes. Yes. There's a sexiness to our personality that we don't have to push and make up and fake. Yes. And they're trying to learn what it is, those little secrets about what we're saying to each other and so on. When I see, with respect to anybody in here, I'm not pointing at anything, when I see a black man and a white woman together, and he's just talking to her, talk, I'm wondering, what is he saying to her that really registers in her innermost self that she knows, or is she just with him for sex reasons? Probably. For sex reasons. They were on Oprah's show one time, and Oprah asked them, what is it about these white girls? I saw the show that day. What is it about these black men that you want to have sex with? They had different answers. One said that they can fertilize my egg and give me a child, and a white boy can't necessarily do it and I'll lose the baby, lose the fetus. The other one said the rhythm, the warmth and the rhythm. And I've heard people that I know, as a flute player I know, she just loves the feeling that she gets from a black male when he's having sex with her. It's the, you know, the rhythm, the natural rhythm, African rhythm and so forth. Yeah. It's almost like you're playing the drums, you know, the African rhythm. And various other kind, they, you know, they like the color of their skin. They like to feel their hair. Different reasons they gave on that show for those 6 or 7 women that they chose the ones who date black men on the show. Those are the people so they, just like Jimi Hendrix went under in Europe when he left Washington State and went to Europe, and he can play the guitar and make it talk. And they were so jealous of that particular characteristic that the women just saturated him around at these concerts and all, and gave him drugs and killed him in his 30s. I heard an interview with his father.
Yeah.
And things like that happen because they see in you something that they can't have, and they'll rather destroy you, even though it's just one of you. There are plenty more of us with you know, the sisters. What's their name? The Williams sisters that are playing tennis. Yes, they are out there with a talent that's unmatched, unprecedented. 2 sisters, both winning the tennis, what do you call it, the big one? Yeah, Wimbledon and Grand Slam. That has never happened with sisters that are of the other thing. And the other thing is this: when you have a black father teaching you the ins and outs of whatever it is you're going into, you're going to get all of the secrets. Arthur Ashe, father, taught him the secrets of tennis, and he was highly successful. These Williams sisters, I have a sister who lives in Compton. My brother-in-law played tennis with the father in the park before the girls were born. When they were born, the father brought the little kids out to the park, same park, and asked the men, you know, my brother-in-law was one, asked them to hit the ball against the concrete thing out there, and they couldn't hit it over the net. And so, but the father taught them, he was a tennis player, he taught them the secrets of what it is they need to know. Tiger Woods,
Right.
father, he's about your color and so on, but he taught Tiger Woods the ins and outs of golf. That's why he was best. So the father, if he's black, he's going to teach you the secrets that the white man will not do because he's jealous that you will do better than him. Even if it's a black person. Now, I took flute for years. My teacher was a black person, top flutist. And he told me there are certain notes that are not on the flute and in the scale books. And they were written, you know, handwritten in my different scale books. And he said other teachers will not teach you how to get the highest D on the flute. Right? The highest D. It's difficult to get that. You got to really tighten the embouchure to get that note to come out. And it's not in the books. He taught me that. And we wrote it in there, but it's not in any of the scale books. So I'm saying that there are little secrets that they keep to themselves because they know that you are creative and that you will outshine them. There are over 700 scientists located in strategic points on this planet that are making it tick, black scientists, that are making it tick, that are controlling certain things in various areas of professional areas. And so they know we're creative. It's kept quiet. They ain't gonna teach you this in school. You'll never get this in any class but Dr. Brown's class.
I studied hypnotic.
Thank you again, all of you. It'll really take me about 20 minutes to reproduce this tape. And I said to you earlier that the tape I showed you of Dr. King and the lecture tonight, you could have that combined for $15. But I don't know if you want to wait 20 minutes for it to be reproduced. So if you don't, what you can do is pay me first and take my number. I'll make sure you get it.
Not your son like that.
What you say, Simon?
Kim, and they could come to our fair tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Make the announcement. You can pick it up then.
Guerrilla journalism. Guerrilla journalism. We meet here every Monday at 6 p.m. It's ran by Milton Alamedi. Alamadi. He is the editor of Black Star News, a wonderful newspaper.
That's right.
And so the class is really awesome. You're all invited. Come and learn how to write. We analyze what's in the media. Every week we have special guests that come. But most of all, we need writers, good writers, who can communicate what is happening to our people globally. And that's what happens on a Monday night. Now, we will be having a fundraiser here Saturday. Is there? Yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Same room, 7 o'clock. Please come.
Our guest speaker, Les Payne.
Oh, the guest speaker will be Les Payne. Oh, guest speaker is Les Payne. Who else?
Wait a minute. We're having a fundraiser tomorrow. We want all of you folks to show up. We're going to have Les Payne. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner and the editor of Newsday, former editor. He will be our keynote speaker. We'll also have awards given to our hostess here, Ali McLean, Sister Viola Plummer from Simultap and Sister's Place, and Brother Alfred Porter, neighborhood activist. We're going to have food. We're going to have entertainment, well-known, well-traveled entertainer, Azena. And it's all, we're asking for a minimum of $20 and we'll graciously accept more. So it starts at 7 o'clock. We plan on running till about 11. I hope you all can show up. They're talking about poor weather or whatever, rainy weather, but nobody's made of sugar, so you won't melt, so come on now. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to seeing all of y'all tomorrow night. Again, good night.
And the tapes will be available tomorrow too?
Yeah, the tapes will be available tomorrow night.
Okay.
Again, if you want to pay in advance, I'll collect it.
Can I make an announcement?
Yes.
Praise the Lord. Good evening, everyone. You know, we always have a problem that we let others make it, the film, instead of us making it. And this is what makes our brother so outstanding. He's making it. And it's coming out in our language. Well, we have a movie coming out called Best Star Do or Die movie production. And this movie that we're making is about, like my sister said, things that they are not letting us know about. And one of the greatest killers on earth is sewer gas, bacterial, fungus, virus, poison. And it's very neglected in our community, the cleaning of sewage and we are all infected by it in here, believe me. There's things that I can't mention now, but in this movie, Best Star Do or Die, is going to be these issues. And I'm hoping that my sister let us pay her to do a part in our movie because she had mentioned some major issues that we must let our young people know because they are being destroyed and there's a reason for them wearing their pants down here right now. And our reason is saying because they are been infected by sewer gas, bacterial, fungus, virus, poison. So we'll be, if you want to be in the movie, you'll be able to see call Minister Brown when we be hiring. We asking him to take names. We need 1,000 people in our movie. We're also doing a sing-along for Barack Obama that's backing our movie. And that's to pay for 144,000 scholarships for students to go to college and finish their education. We're doing a sing-along, and from that sing-along, these students will own shares in the corporation that will pay for their education. It's the largest sing-along ever in the history of America. And it's supposed to happen in the same area where we had the Million Man March. And we'll be singing the sing-along for Barack Obama. And the sing-along is really about fighting pollution and bringing about global world peace. Bless you and thank you very much. I'm Dr. Geronimo C. Williamson. Spiritual name, Dr. Geronimo Moses Elijah Williamson, which you have to be a minister to understand. Thank you. And bless you, my sister.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Yes, sir. Man.
My sister.
Hi, greetings.